Good evening once again, and welcome to another edition of the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast. As always, we've got another informative, exciting discussion for you this afternoon. With me, I have Basil, Sharma, and Lenny. Lenny, let's start with you. You're new to the fold. I mean, not new to the cricket fraternity, but new to the Bits and Pieces fold. So please introduce yourself.
All right, so I'm Lenny. These days, I watch a lot of cricket, follow a lot of cricket, and I do dabble in a little bit of cricket commentary along with my son. I've traveled quite a bit extensively in the last couple of years, and I love doing what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that one of these days, I'm looking to always go up to the next level. So thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great, Lenny. Shama, you've not been with us for a minute, so just remind the viewership of who you are.
Thank you, Nancy. I know it's been a while, but thank you for having me again. For those who don't know, my name is Sharma Subdeo. I'm the president of Phoenix Cricket Club. I'm also an administrator in the New York region. I do a lot of under 25 and youth cricket. Also a part of the Indo-Caribbean games every year. So happy to be here in conversation with you guys tonight.
Okay, great, thank you. And of course, Mr. Basil, if you watched last week, you'd have seen Basil. And Basil, was doing a little boasting, and he was talking about some achievements, and
Yes,
he was looking real hard for a trophy.
yes,
So sometime along this evening, Basil's going to show you his
yes,
trophy to prove to you
Yeah.
yes.
that he has done things, where cricket is concerned. This is the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast. Please like, share the broadcast, tell a friend, and we'll be back with you shortly. All right, all right. Now, before we go into our main topic, where we want to look at how do we get fans into the ground and what have we been doing to get fans and so on into the ground. Let's start with a little cricket. I'm going to play a little clip, and then I'm going to have you guys analyze, what went wrong. And I have a few questions, a few cricketing questions that maybe someone, a novice, might want to ask, somebody who's well versed in the game of cricket. All right, so guys, watch this little clip. This is a game last Sunday with the Richmond Hill Liberty team.
No chance of that. Like, lifting around. Might even end up outside space. That's what I think. Hold it, sir. Hold it. That's a drop? Bad, it's drop.
All right, Basil, what did the keeper do wrong there?
The wicketkeeper did not get down low enough to take the
Hmm.
catch. You're always looking to have your hands under the ball. His fingers were pointing down, right? So made it easier for him. Again, remember in the last show what I talked about, catching is something you always want to look at the ball into your hands. And
Hmm.
because we do it, it becomes so automatic that oftentimes guys catch the ball, they don't even look at the ball into their hands, and they do it successfully. But when in a very important part of the game, where a very important catch, and they don't follow the right technique, you could see where they drop the ball, where you might say it's an easy catch, but because it was so easy, they went ahead doing without following the ball into the hand. And you see the wicketkeeper there, his fingers were pointing towards the ground rather than under the his hands under the ball, so the ball would have come into his gloves, and he dropped the catch. And the batsman, even the batsman, was surprised because you saw the batter turn and was walking, and then when the batter see the guy dropped the ball, he got a reprieve because it was such a simple catch.
Right, right. Lenny, as a commentator, anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think what Basil is really explaining is that complacency. Complacency happens when those dolly catches come to you. Now you look at that. That's a regulation catch. I remember. We all remember the Gibbs incident when couple many years ago when Gibbs took a catch and he was so confident that he has caught the ball, put it in his pocket, and it fell down, and it was ruled not out. So one of the things, like Basil mentioned, as a keeper, you've got to not be complacent. You've got to catch everything. And what I did notice in this case, that keeper was at a position in which the ball was actually dying. Now keepers are different. They come in different. There's some keepers would want to keep at a point where the ball is pretty much peak rise, where it's rising at a peak level. Some may want to stand back a yard back and take the ball coming downwards. That keeper there, and I couldn't make out the players, but I think that keeper was poorly positioned. That keeper was
Yes.
positioned in such a way that that ball was always gonna die 6 inches from the ground. When you take a look
Okay.
at that clip.
Excellent point, Lenny.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Yeah. Get that.
Just to add on to Lenny quickly, yes. As a wicketkeeper, you want a ball. The ball should never be collecting the ball lower than your knees, right?
Waist.
The
You gotta collect at
optimum,
your waist.
the optimum is your waist, right?
Yep.
So you make sure you set yourself in a position that most of the balls, because the last thing, as Lenny correctly said, as a team, the last thing you want to know, a catch for the wicket keeper drop in front of the keeper when the keeper could have been forward, and that could end up
Exactly.
costing you a game, or a batter is going on to make a big score.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And also when you look at that clip, it might have been, and like I said, I don't know who the keeper is, but for a regular military medium bowler, he should have been a little bit up closer.
Okay. Okay. Sharma, looking at that and speaking to a young 13-year-old, the age group that you kind of work with, one of the younger guys playing. What lesson would you try to impart to an up and coming cricketer with that with regard to that segment?
Well, what I've noticed that a lot of the up and coming or younger cricketers are missing is a lack of basics. A lot of people don't know basic cricket anymore. So if you go back to the basic of wicket keeping and you understand the distance, reading your bowlers, knowing your players in your team, then that comes into play. The height, I know the keeper, and I know those players over there. So
Uh,
one thing I'll give them, the pitch was recently made, so it did play up and down. So he had a little bit of a right to be a distance away because the ball tends to pop off over there. But the biggest takeaway from that clip that I get is the sportsmanship. He knew he dropped the ball. The batsman didn't know he dropped the ball, but he didn't claim the wicket.
yeah.
And then that was very important. That's something that we need more in the New York scene. So that's my biggest takeaway from that clip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
I
Great.
agree.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Echo that.
One more question, Basil, from that scene. Just somebody doesn't really to understand. I mean, know a little, but don't to understand the game. Could the batsman have been given run out?
No, because the batter was not attempting a run. The only
Okay.
way you could be run out, you have to be attempting a run. The only other thing, if the wicketkeeper had thrown the ball to the stump and say he was standing out of his crease, for example, he would just be stumped. He wouldn't be run out because he wasn't at no point trying to attempt to run.
Okay.
So the only two
Thank.
ways he could have gotten out there is the catch or stumped
Yep.
in that
Okay.
scenario.
All right. All right. Okay, you're watching the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast, and we will be back with you shortly. All right, we're back. This is the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast. All right, cricket has been around in New York for quite a while. In fact, for a very long time. It's been of late, a lot of Guyanese, a lot of West Indians have been involved with playing cricket. There has been some difficulty for different reasons why the game hasn't necessarily blown up. But we want to look specifically today at our little cocoon, our little area, right? What have we done and what can we do to bring fans into the game? Um, and I'd start with a point that in my research, I came up to, and I want you to know this, and then we'll discuss it. Now, Lenny, the very first international cricket game was played between Canada and the USA. And, for me, and I figure most of us, coming from Guyana, when we were growing up, Canada and US, they were, novice teams and things. But when you look at that, as a cricketing fan, as a passionate lover of the game, the fact that the very first international cricket match was between Canada and USA, and cricket in those nations, still struggling to become a force. What does it tell you about cricket? What does it tell you about life, Lenny?
Anansi, it's interesting that that the U.S. and Canada played the first international sport of any kind. But it's also interesting to note that back then, the U.S. used to hold their own. I remember I read a book a couple of months ago called Baseball and Cricket, which traced the history of cricket in the U.S. And you'd be surprised to know that, for example, when Donald Bradman and might have been Grace, I'm not too sure about Grace, but when Bradman, they used to take the boat and go to England and play whatever matches. They used to come across to the U.S. Basil will know that. The earlier clubs in Philadelphia, where Haverford facility is, used to be a hotbed for when these teams go to England. They used to stop over into the U.S. and play matches. And I'll tell you, back in the 18th century, back in the 18th century, U.S. used to hold US used to hold these guys. They were friendly games. Used to play pretty well. There's a man by the name of Bart King. If you read the history on Bart King, they'll tell you that Bart King was as good as the top Australian back then, or the top Englishman back then. In fact, Bart King used to play in the English County League. He was so good, he was probably one of the best in the world. The fact is, we don't know what happened during the course of let's say the early 19th century. It seemed a lot of things went wrong against cricket. It gives you the impression that at one time, US should have been a full test nation by now, just like England and Australia. They were part of the same clan, and I understand by reading that because they were not part of the Commonwealth fold, they lost out. And it was the Australian and Englishmen who took the lead, and we fell all the way back. And then, of course, the book went on to say where baseball capitalized on an opportunity to make baseball the great American pastime, but cricket was right up there with them. We used to have very good players, and I don't know what went wrong, but in the 18th century back then, that the clip that you showed, US should have been a full test nation by now.
Lenny is absolutely correct. I actually was doing some research myself several years ago, and I came across the formation, the precursor to what we have now as the ICC. It was called the Imperial Cricket Conference.
Yep.
And the English folks said they were only going to admit four Commonwealth countries, not the United States. And it was probably because, the whole thing with the United States, the revolution and knocking out England out of controlling the United States, they were not, because Lenny is correct. United States should have been an original member of
Yeah,
the Imperial Cricket Conference.
we
It would
would. Yeah,
have
we
been a full member
by
test
now. Yeah.
playing nation from the inception of that. And so cricket would have been a sport, a world class sport here in the United States.
Just like
But
baseball.
because of that, cricket had no place to go in the United States because now who are you playing against? You don't have nobody. It's going to be left to the still friendly stuff and so on. And the game just fell by the wayside until in the turn of the early 1900s with Caribbean immigrants coming here and
Yeah.
restarting back playing the game. But it should have been because as Lenny correctly said, when you go to Philadelphia, they have some of these old clubs that are still around, and the
Yeah.
whole setup reminds you of England, the
Yes.
pavilion and the whole 9 yards. Some of these clubs have been around over 100 years.
Staten Island is one of them.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
hmm
Okay.
yes.
Good. 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 All right. You're watching the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast. We'll be back with you in a few seconds. All right. Um, I'm going to play a little clip from a Guyanese intercounty game back in 2015, and this is a fan of the game, someone who went to see the game. Talking, and then we gonna chat after.
My name is Chetty Jagan II. I'm happy to be here. Cricket and sports in general is a huge deal in Guyana and all over the Caribbean. So I'm happy to come out and show my support and see all of my beautiful brothers and sisters from Guyana here today. So it's wonderful seeing our tradition being carried over here in America as well. So I'm just happy to be here and be able to partake and watch the game. It's been a great game.
Okay, do you think that cricket is a good way for us to socialize, for us to come together?
Definitely. You know, a big way that people socialize all over the world is through sports, and cricket is a very big part of our Guyanese culture. Whether we're back home or we're over here, it remains, even if it's not a huge institutionalized sport in America, it's still a big part of our culture. So it's important for us to be able to come together, regardless of our races or our economic positions in America. It's good for us to be able to come together and socialize at events like this. It's a great thing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Your name and then.
Mine's very short. Hello, my name is Jessica Dagan, and I just think it's a lovely thing to see everyone together enjoying themselves.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the game today, thus far?
Well, I'm rooting for Demerara, and I think they're doing pretty well.
Okay, and what about the atmosphere there, outside,
fun.
both on and off the field?
I think everyone's enjoying themselves a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Cricket, lovely cricket, and of course the voice in the background there
Yeah.
was our own Lenny commentating.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Now, Lenny, question: How were you able to retain your passion of the game or for the game after immigrating to the US?
Well, I first when I came here first, I started to play, and it was one of those. It was one of those inter-county games that happened at a cage. A friend of mine says, we're having this big game. Why not come and do some commentary? Because we used to go on tours, and you used to kind of play around with some commentary and stuff like that. So that's how I got into commentary itself. Interestingly enough, it was a Guyana inter-county game. That might have been in 2004. And that happened at the cage.
Okay. Okay. Basil, did you have trouble after first landing in the U.S. Of retaining your interest in cricket, or were you able to just keep on going?
What was interesting, when I came to the U.S., I came here for university, and I
Mm-hmm.
went to Ohio. But what was interesting, I was bringing my cricket bat, and my father said, "Where you going? Where you going with that? Play no
uh,
cricket in America." And he told me to leave it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And subsequently, a few years after being in Ohio, going to university, I came to live in New York, and that is how I got. Well, I still didn't think it was serious cricket. And where I was staying when I came to New York, the guy was a family friend, and he played cricket. And he told some guys from the club that said, "But your son is in living in New York now, and I get a couple phone calls to come and play." So I thought it was like a little scrubby. So I asked the guys, "Y'all wear white clothes and those kinds of things?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta get white." Well, I had no whites or anything of the sort, right? I had to wear white dress pants, a white dress shirt, my first cricket match, and the passion always was there for the sport. But at that time, coming to United States, it was hard to maintain contact with the sport because there weren't outlets for you to read. My younger brother used to send me letters. Those are the days of letters with clippings of what was going on with the West Indies and Guyana for me to keep up. So I would be getting news several months after something happened in Guyana or West Indies cricket. But then as the years went by and so on, and playing the game again, and the whole the socialization, the social part of the game, and then we started to get access. I would go every week and buy the Barbados Nation, because you couldn't get Guyanese newspapers at that time. This is like
Okay.
early mid 80s. I would go. They had
Mm-hmm.
a store on Utica Avenue. Every week I'd go and buy the Nation so I could see what was going on in West Indies cricket. And then
Carib
as
News also.
Yes, well,
Carib News.
Carib News, and then you started having on WLIB, Claude Tate and them would give you the scores, and then we started having people when the game started to be televised. Guys get the big satellite dish, and you go to a person's house, and it's like 20 something of us there. So it felt like you were at the cricket match, because a whole bunch of guys, and when you go to watch a cricket match, this all the gaff and the talking that
Mm-hmm.
goes on in the cricket match while you're watching, that occurred. And so now today it's easier, because the game, I mean, you can't every game is on TV now. you know
Right. Right.
if you tell the
Right.
younger
Yep.
generation how we used to be pining away, we couldn't even see any cricket because it wasn't on television, particularly in the Caribbean.
Right. Yeah. Shama, Basil raises a very, very important point there, and it's something I hadn't really given much thought to, and that is, do you think, as you look now, um, had there been social media back at the height of West Indies cricket, that the game would have been further on in New York? What's your take, Shama?
Definitely, definitely. Social media, news outlet play a big part in marketing, in cricket. It's like a business the same way, how you want to market your
Mm-hmm.
business and spread the word, the same thing we have to introduce and provide for cricket as well. So, yeah, I do say, yeah, if social media was available, if people were able to connect in that type of way back then that they can now, definitely would be like years ahead. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The
Okay.
word would have
Okay.
been out there. We've probably been, probably get better facilities, better attraction from the government officials.
Okay.
You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Okay. So, Basil, in what specific way do you think had social media been around, up and alive, when West Indies cricket was up there with Lloyd and Richards
Mm-hmm.
and Richardson? Um, how would that have actually helped? Based on your own knowledge
I
of
I
what
think
happened there.
a powerful West Indies team. And I give you an example. There was a man named Roy Sweeney, the late Roy Sweeney. He used to bring up well, he couldn't call it West Indies teams, obviously for trademark. But he every summer up at there was a ground in Mount Vernon. he would bring a team of top West Indies players at the time. And let me tell you, we talking mid 80s. We paid $20, $25 to go and see this game. And the ground was ram packed, right? I remember all the way back 1984, 85 was the first time he brought, because Andy Roberts was still playing. He had just gotten dropped from the West Indies team, and he was trying to get back into the West Indies team. So it had to be around 84, 85. And we went to the game, and there was a memory. There was a big time batsman in the United States, a Barbadian guy named Stocky Blackman. And Stocky Blackman played a shot off of Sir Andy. And if Lenny, you could remember in them days, there was a limit at how long you could run up in limited overs cricket. Not like today, now you see guys coming all the way from the 30-yard line. 15 yards was the length. You couldn't go longer than that. And after Stocky played that cover drive off of Sir Randy turned and walked back to come off the long run. And the crowd roared because now we can see worries. And the umpire, you'll remember him, Lenny, umpire Conrad. Conrad turned around and see Andy. So no, you cannot come from so long abroad. But after the game, I ran up to Conrad. I said, Conrad, I paid $25 to come in here, not to see you umpire. I come to see Andy lick them down. Here is the rules. I said, no rules. We paid 20. We come till from Brooklyn and Queens to Mount Vernon, and you trying to change. But I could tell you all the way back then how packed it was. If the West Indies, there was social media and so on, the younger generation of Caribbean people who were living here would have been into it. It's the same thing that has happened in England. Children of Caribbean immigrants always supported the West Indies, even though they were born in England, right? When West Indies was strong, they had a great affinity to cricket. As West Indies died, you don't see the same affinity of Caribbean, people of Caribbean background to cricket in the UK, like when in the heydays of West Indies. Because I remember I had a friend, I used to date she's Jamaican but British, and I took her and a brother. We all went to this club in Queens, and as I'm walking through the club, all I hear somebody say, "Young Butch." When I turn and look, it's the big Clive Lloyd in the corner, right? So me and him had a conversation. And I didn't think of the time as we're driving back to Brooklyn. I said to them, Clive Lloyd was at the club here tonight. They was like, what? You didn't even call us to introduce us. I said, I didn't even think that you guys. They were like, of course. They grew up loving West Indies, but that's not the same. And I think also a good West Indies team coming here, it could have moved beyond the Caribbean community into the American larger, to see this fantastic team playing cricket that maybe we would have, as correctly as Sharma said, we'd have been light years ahead in where cricket could have been, with a good West Indies team being the vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything you want to add to that, Lenny?
Yes, a lot actually, but I know we're short on time. I probably may want to go the other way. Social media and the whole idea of having so many games to watch at the same time, I'm not too sure if it has done well for the normal sporting fan. Now, for example, we have so much to watch, and I'm pretty sure all three of us, have seen enough. We don't know which game to tune into. What we're beginning to see, and Butcher and Nancy and Sharma, we're beginning to lose the art of appreciating and watching, and the exercise of going to cricket games, because we have it in our houses. We don't have any work to do anymore. We just pick the phone up, and we're beginning to see games from all over the place. And what has happened, in my opinion, a glut of anything is never good. All right. Now, for example, you see Babar Azam makes 100 today, and it's not like in the 1970 or the 1980 when we savor the moment that Babar Azam has made a scintillating century. We don't have time to recover anymore We've got to digest quickly what Babar Azam does because Joe Root has made 100 in England.
Mm-hmm.
Couple hours later, so we're beginning to be fed with so much information. There has never been in the history of mankind that so much information has come to us, and that happens in cricket and that happens in sport. I am beginning to feel that Butcher and all of us, we will lose the art of appreciating and watching cricket games. They're not going to be the same anymore. We are losing that art and we are losing that exercise. Look, for example, if you look at the scheduling by the different boards and by the ICC, they have no regards for the fan. And when I say no regards for the fan, how in the world can a test match start on a Monday these days? In a
Correct.
country like South Africa, in a country like West Indies, and I'm calling West Indies, South Africa, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka because nobody goes. Now, for example, you're really putting the fan under pressure in this hard economic time. Who is going to go see a test match Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? But that's the norm these days. You guys all know
Mm.
that. Now,
Yeah.
the big three, the Ashes series. Listen, you will play the Ashes series in midnight and people will go. All the tickets are sold. You will go to Australia, the MCG, they'll pack out 90,000 people. You go to India, they're starved for entertainment, so they'll go. But there's so much on the fans' plate that if you're going to start a test match on Monday and Tuesday, what are we supposed to do? Which one do we follow? Where do we go?
Right. I mean, to add to that, you're speaking globally, where there is a vast majority of audience for cricket. My mind in retrospect, I'm focusing in the United States because that's where we are, that's where we play cricket, and that's where I feel social media does play a lot into getting people to the ground, which is I know Anansi's biggest topic and continuous topic for a while now is how do we get people to our games locally in our area, and that's what I feel social media plays a big role, so people could know where games are being played, which team in their neighborhood is playing, and stuff like that. So when it comes to me explaining about social media, that's where I look at it as us here locally rather than globally, where there is a lot of tons of attraction. You don't know where to go. That's true. That's a fact. Everything that you said, it is true globally, but here in the United States, I think we definitely need the help of social media to spread the word.
Yes.
But
But
if
going, but go one
Sharma.
second. Going on Lenny's point though, Sharma, as we think about it, let's say social media is working. For the limited amount of cricket fans, whose league do you support? Do you support Metropolitan? Do you support New York? Do you support Saturday cricket? Do you support
mm,
Sunday cricket?
Well,
Uh,
Based on Lenny's
when it
point.
comes to that, I think fans support the people they know, whether
Hmm.
they're their husband, their boyfriend, their neighbor. They support who they know. They don't really care what league you're playing from. As long as they know that you're playing, they're gonna come there. That's how I see it as now. Until they get more information and they learn more. And we're still at the information stage of cricket in New York,
yeah,
especially.
if I may jump in here, I think one of the biggest one of the biggest challenge of getting crowd to local events is that we play a lot of cricket. We play a lot of cricket in America. Leagues are growing. Leagues are coming aboard, right? And the fact is, nobody is there to watch because everybody's playing. Everybody's playing. Butcher, you would know back in Guyana in your time, you either play Case Cup, North Court, or White Cup, and then after that, if you can't make those teams, then you go and watch. But now everybody look. You look at the softball league; they have division for everybody depending on your skill set. There's a Premier A, there's a B division, there's a C division, there's a D division, right? People play on Saturday, people play on Sunday, so uh, there's nobody to watch because everybody's playing. Look, Saturday I was at the ground. I went to Casino Park. They had a game there. I went to follow some stuff that was happening there, and one guy he was declared 12. He picked up his bag and I asked him where he's going. He says, well, I'm 12 here. I don't want to sit and watch. I'm going to Flushing right across over there. I'm playing a game. And I said to myself, nobody wants to watch. Everybody's playing. And the leagues, and I got to tell you, the leagues have done well to get people the playing opportunities, full playing opportunity both Saturday and Sunday. What the thing that the league has not done, they've created opportunities for many people to play at different divisions, like I mentioned, depending on your skill set. What the league has not done, and this is not only New York, but across the United States, they haven't separated the real good players from the other one. So that I know Butcher would know what I'm talking about. We have always clamored for a Premier League, a Premier Division somewhere, but it hasn't happened in none of the American state. And so while leagues around the US have made it so much for people to play so much cricket, right? They have filled the timetable for everybody. Everybody's watching, nobody to watch.
I want to echo. First, I want to just say what Sharma says regarding looking at it from a U.S. and even more so, we're all based here in the New York metro area, because one of the interesting things is that the low hanging fruit, i.e., people from the Caribbean. They have tons of people from the Caribbean that live in the New York metro area who enjoy cricket, don't know that cricket is played in the United States.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, I'm in Marine Park, we watching a game, and a guy, he came and walked up and stood up beside us. Guyanese guy, the guy was like, I just was driving past and I look over. I in New York 10 years. I didn't know they played cricket in New York. So I love cricket. And he said he had to pull in. And you could see the smile. The guy was so glad to see cricket, right? So
Yes.
in the years past, I used to echo this when we had WLIB, that one of the things the leagues did not do a good job of was to say to WLIB when Clotted had the shows to put out on the air, because our Caribbean people used to listen to WLIB. That was our sole place to get information. That put on there, this cricket league is playing there. So people, the casual cricket fan on a weekend would know, well, you know what? They got cricket. I live in Brooklyn. Let me pass by Marine Park and see what's this cricket thing about, and so on and so forth. But on the other part, what Lenny is talking about, with so much cricket being played, I talk about going back 30 plus years, because as Lenny correctly said, you come from Guyana, where you knew about Case Cup, White Cup, North Coast, right? The three divisions, and you come and you playing in the game, and the good players, serious players, and a man in the other team with a black belt and a black shoe on, and that right?
Yeah.
We have been. I mean, this has been an ongoing conversation that we need to have, maybe just one league in the New York metro area and divisions, so players based on their skills and their interests would be playing against each other. So Division One or Premier Division would be the players who looking to play for United States, the guys who are serious about the cricket. So if you want to go and see a good cricket match, you turn up there to see. But if you want fat and drink and so on, you go and see a fourth division game or something. You see what I'm saying? So that way, you because Lenny could talk to this. When we used to have the red stripe games between Guyana, Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica, the Lee Wars, Wind Wars, and even we brought in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on, you would see the massive crowds from the various territories turning up to see cricket, right? Because this was good cricket, what you're coming to see, good players. And I was in my brain several years ago, because one of the players for my I used to coach a women's team, and one of them was one Saturday they tell me they're going to see football. I said, football? They say yes, because one of the girls, her father would cook food and sell food and drinks somewhere. I don't know where this place was, but it's pay like $5 or $10 to go into the match, and it's over 1,000 plus people. So the girl father used to come away with at least $5,000 every time he go and sell any food and drinks, right?
Caribbean Cup.
Yes. So I said, why can't we have something similar for cricket? And one of the ways we could get the casual fans in is to have at the halftime, like in the in a 50 over game, you got 30 minutes in between innings. Get some musical entertainment. So, you get some Caribbean artists, the young people like the different thing. You might start from a lower level person because the big ones is cost a lot of money, and so you have an added attraction because today, if you look across sport, we live in the United States. Even going to an NBA game, a baseball game, a football game, these people have built their facilities to attract for other things that you could do while you at the game to bring fans to the game because people have so many choices these days that you gotta really do things to pull them to the game, right? And we have to look here in the United States, um, restructure our whole local cricket scene if we want to take it to where it is a tool to develop and promote the game in the United States. As it is right now, it's not. It still remains in the same. Immigrants come and play in the game that they love where they come from. And beyond that, it is not going anywhere. And we have to revamp and restructure and come up with a structure that is going to develop young people as well as promote it to people outside our communities as well as those in our communities.
Okay. Thank you for that, Basil. Shamo, based on what I've just been listening to, what do you think right now is most needed? The kind of facilities and the added little events, a little show and thing to bring in the fun, or the standard of the game itself? Because I agree with part of what Basil was saying, but even as he's speaking, I'm thinking, let's say like a Madison Square Garden, it's an arena, so it could have hockey, it could have actually they even play tennis there in addition to basketball and so on, right? But one thing that has been consistent is that the teams that people go there for generally pay a high standard of hockey or a high standard of basketball or whatever. In your opinion, Shama, do we need to right now facilitate the fans better, or is the key right now really upping the standard in the game itself?
I think it goes both 50-50, but I think the facilities is important. I mentioned this on the
Mm,
show a few times. People want to come to the game, especially women. They want to come to the game. Ambassador and Lenny can attest to this. Majority of the grounds that are designated for cricket do not have
Correct.
facilities.
Correct.
Yep.
They don't have a restroom for
Mhm.
men could go
In any way.
anywhere, but women can't. Excuse me. So
mm,
that's our biggest issue right now. Even for us, I have a game this Sunday. Myself and the guys we're thinking, should we bring our family? Should we not bring our family because there's no facilities at the ground, and it's about an hour drive. So
right,
that plays a big part in how this cricket is going to grow. You need interest from fans. You need them to come out, but for them to come out, you need basic facilities. And this is nothing that is going to cost millions of dollars. It's just basic facilities. So people, excuse me, the parks department or whoever is involved in designating certain grounds for cricket, they need to really look at all aspects of it, of basic human needs. We're at that stage right now. Once we can get over that hurdle where we can get people to the ground and they're comfortable at the ground, then we can elevate and put more into the game itself, into the players itself, the league itself, raise that standard. And once we get both hand in hand, then we can have more investors and then we can get to a Madison Square Garden eventually. But we have to also stay away from the Caribbean and the Asian mentality or community alone for this cricket. We need to expand. We're in the United States. We're in the melting pot of the world. There's different kind of people, and there's a lot of people that not from a cricketing nation that's very interested in the game. The people that I work with myself, Italian people that they know I'm involved in cricket. They want to know what it is. I talk to them, and it always piques their interest. But sometimes it's very hard for me to get them to a ground if they can't use the restroom.
right.
That's a difficult task. So we need to get those basic things set up and then get marketing involved in the cricket. And we have to look at it in a standpoint at like the NFL or or like baseball. You have to market it. Once you get the funding in, then you can do these things.
Okay. Lenny, based on who you would have heard over the years, I know you would have listening on a lot of conversations, people making their comments. Um, what what needs to be done, to speed up the process of putting facilities at these places that, is it that we're lacking in political strength? Is it that we're lacking negotiation skills? What have you found missing?
Well, Anansi, what we have seen in the last 3 years, you look at the complex out in Texas, and
Hmm.
that's a private venture. You look at Musa Stadium, that's another private venture. They have been. It appears from what we're seeing, the private ventures are the one that is going to push a stadium forward.
Okay.
Uh, we have the one in Florida, and maybe you guys don't know or you do know, the local teams cannot afford to play in that ground, right? That ground is only reserved for like the big games and stuff like that, and I think that's bad because, for example, if we're clamoring for a stadium to be built by the county or the state or the feds, and it comes to a situation like Fort Lauderdale where it's so expensive to play there we can't even afford to go play in that ground, then I don't know how that benefits us. Of course, we'll have an ICC approved stadium, I hope. But when you look at what is happening in Prairie View in Texas, right, that complex that has about 7 pitches, I've been there several times, and that's a private venture. And now with minor league involved and major cricket league, you're reading in the news just a couple of days ago, we heard that they're going to start a big process up in Seattle, Washington, getting ready for Major League Cricket. It appears that all of the stadium or proposed stadiums are far away from New York. So it looks like, from the look of things, it's like we don't have anything coming. I saw a couple months ago that there was a petition going around for people to sign to have a stadium up in New York. But I'll tell you that real estate is not an easy thing to gather here, and we know all the laws and the county laws that govern land. Getting land seems to be the easiest part, but
Hmm.
in the tri-state area, the laws about what you can build or what you can erect, it's a little bit different from Texas. Texas, you'll buy a whole acre of farmland and do whatever you want to do. I don't think that's the law around here. So we are at a disadvantage at the moment.
That
Uh,
sounds like a very 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 large. Is it insurmountable, Boston? What do you think?
I think because Floyd Bennett Field, right? My dad had a friend from Linden who played Case Cup with him. I remember he was telling my dad they were trying to get Floyd Bennett Field since 1972. You ever
Wow.
said 50 years ago?
Yeah.
They've been trying to make Floyd Bennett a cricket facility, but they could never overcome the hurdles because it's federally owned land and you got something with wildlife and all these different things. But then on top of that, one of the realities we let's be 100, as the young people say. We Caribbean people cannot work together. We have been in, I'm talking about the English speaking Caribbean. We have been in the New York area for over 100 and something years as people come in here. But we never could work together. When look, for example, Labor Day, you got 3 million people in the parkway. I remember a famous historian, John Henry Clark, saying that every mayor that running for office in New York should have to grovel at the feet of Caribbean people if they were organized. When you see that spectacle on Eastern Parkway, the sheer numbers of us. But because we have been unable to work together, we always fighting each other. Others have come way after us. New York, as we would say, is the mecca of cricket in the United States. And still to this day, we do not have a turf pitch. I remember when 80th Street reopened. Them guys tell me they got a match, so I opening in this place. So when I arrive, I see all the dignitaries, and I looking out. I go up on the thing where you're sitting. I said, "Wait, is turf pitch y'all got out there, man? Turf pitch? What?"
uh,
So I fly right down to where the park small was, and some of these guys, I know I ain't calling the name, sitting around drinking wine. I go over, I say, wait, all them got on the little blazers and things. I say, wait. Y'all had the parks department refurbish a field only for cricket, and y'all still with this Martin thing? Y'all tell them that it's turf we display cricket on, not Martin? And they had no proper answer for me. The same thing with Gateway. That was built for cricket only, and we with this Martin. The amount of Caribbean people living in New York, paying taxes in New York, why can't we have cricket fields where the parks will fix, get a roller and all those things for the number of us living in New York, paying taxes like every other community? But because we can't work together, and that has been the major hindrance in my view, why we have not been able to push this cricket forward in the New York metro area. And now, I mean, well, Lenny, I read the same article, Lenny. I hear Seattle, Washington. So that means it's all South Asians going to see the cricket. And they're talking about maybe down the line somewhere in Washington area and New York area. As far as I'm concerned, New York should be in the first place. Because, for example, if, like how when West Indies would go and play in Florida, play games, international games in Florida, if you had those games in New York, by the time you could say knife, all them tickets sell out.
Yeah, true.
New Yorkers more than
True.
anywhere in the United States, the Caribbean community more than anywhere in the United States, come out to see local cricket more than anywhere in the United States.
Yeah, but Basil, you look at the CPL that made its way to Florida.
Exactly, it was mostly people
We
from New York there.
exactly, and we would have supported any team if Talawas was playing
Yeah,
Patriots. We
exactly.
would have supported that. We
That
wouldn't have.
the ground would have been ram-packed, that you would have been men would have been selling tickets that they buy and going on black market and getting a bigger price. Because
Yeah,
all the years, for example, when we used to have the national tournaments and we went down to Florida to play, nobody used to one guy from Florida come out to the games. But when you had like the Eastern Conference in New York and you go at 223rd Park, the ground ram-packed, especially if it's New York playing, right?
yeah, true.
We would turn out. Brian Lara came here. What is that, in the early 2000s? I think it was. And played a game
2006.
in the hole there at View. I couldn't make. Unfortunately, I had to go to a wedding. Their wedding had to be on the same thing, right? But the reports I got, there were over 3,000 people or so in the hole. You know, and so you imagine a West Indies team, our international cricket playing in New York. Oh my gosh! But the people, because again, we have now worked together. One last quick point: when they had the exhibition match, Andy, there was all the promotion about Sachin Tendulkar and so on. You playing the match in the New York metro area with our greatest West Indian cricketer of the last generation playing in that game in Brian Lara. And you did not market that game at all to the Caribbean community. They did not market that game. I remember I tell me Trinidad, your friend, I tell she, Brian Lara play a game Saturday. God. She said, what? She not cricket fan. She said, if we knew that Brian was playing, we would have turned up in the numbers just to support we by Brian. They didn't promote the game in the Caribbean community, and we got to take the blame for that because we have not done a good job fighting each other, and other people come in and take over the cricket.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something we're gonna keep looking at as we move forward. And we're gonna take a real in-depth look at that same game with
Right.
Tendulkar and thing at another time. Yeah, because there are a lot of points to really take from that
Yes.
game about
Yes.
with regard to this very
The same issue.
conversation.
This issue.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is. So we'll definitely be looking at that moving forward. All right, we get into the close, and before that, um, I know Lenny just before we came on was talking about some of his own achievements early back in the day. So we do want to get to the achievements of some of our panelists. Before we go there, Lenny, Vicky earlier was saying Leonard Archibald, many cricket traditions trace their roots back to the cage.
Yeah,
That's a fact.
I remember doing the I think one of the first intercounty game was played right there was a boardman event, and yeah, a lot of good stuff started from the cage. To echo what a little bit what Sharma said and Basil said, what we're missing in New York, we're missing a mecca. And when we say mecca, we know the language. We're talking about a place that we can look forward to taking the family, and not so much us, taking the ladies, taking the family, a comfortable place that is very conducive to cricket watching. And we don't have one of those. I mean, I think the best ground in the New York City area is the facility at 223rd.
Mhm.
And whenever I look around for a match to go see, one of the first ground I want to see what's happening is at 223rd. But we all know sometimes they're not very solid or very good billing there. So you end up going somewhere else just for the other big names that play the game. But yeah, we're missing a mecca. We don't have a place that we can look forward to that a lot of things are happening. And I think that is really making the crowd stay away. I would say because we don't have one of those. And the other thing I might say that what we as cricketers have done, we haven't engaged the populace outside of the cricket playing nation. For example, we know the Caribbean people can play cricket. We know the South Asian, but we have not transitioned our little leagues and stuff like that to engage the Caucasian, the
Mhm.
homeborn American.
Mhm.
I remember talking to one of my friends in Atlanta, and maybe Basil knows him, Shafi Jadavji. He used to play with Cosmos, and he runs a pretty interesting thing up in Atlanta. And what they would do, their club will engage the baseball clubs in Atlanta, invite them for a day at the cricket park. You come play my cricket, and I'll come back and play one of your baseball game. And so far, that thing is a very good thing. You get them engaged. They're loving playing cricket. They got the fire department involved. And when you start to do that, you get the county involved. And
Mhm.
what we as Caribbean people or South Asian cannot do from a political standpoint, you never know. You engage the out of the box cricketers then, and it's one of the things that leagues need to look at, clubs need to look at. Sometimes we are a little too enclosed with ourselves, and it's not getting nowhere. So, like, that's a good point. Getting the fire department involved, getting the police. I know the police plays cricket in New York.
The NYPD league, yeah,
The
they
NYPD, yeah,
mhm.
Okay.
PSAL, I think the
yes,
police athletic sports league or something like that. Yeah.
yeah,
They're involving youth cricket sponsor on the 19th
Yes. Yeah.
on Sunday during the summer, and then they
Mhm.
do have their senior men team that plays every Sunday morning at Baisley Pond. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
What? Just piggyback with what Larry is saying. That has always been my perspective. And I think I said on the show the last time, I think when I was coaching the women's team, I was still in the women's team. I had what five white women on the team, right? Because my position was we have to take this game. If this game is going to become really viable, we gotta in if we want people who from here to watch, we gotta get them involved in it,
yep.
right? That's always been. I even once got up at our league in New Jersey here meeting, and I said, gentlemen, all of you guys in here got school age children. So because you have children in the schools in this county, you have access to schools virtue of your children. And I suggest that we through that start a coaching clinic for youngsters, and out of that we can start the youth league, because once they get competent we can start competition. Everybody watched me like I had horns growing out of my head. It's okay. I once went because I didn't have the time. I got invited Orange High School here in New Jersey, not far from. And a guy, a South Asian guy, had connections, and they wanted coaching. And I went there 2 times to coach in the afternoon after school. And all the kids were pretty much of Caribbean background that came to the coaching. The athletic director was an American woman. She was so enthusiastic about this. And what was interesting, as I was doing the session with the kids in the gym, all the students were on the sideline watching, like, what the hell are these guys doing? Actually, one of the basketball players came up. He said, can I have a try at this? They pick up the bat, try to swing the bat. But the time they wanted me to come, I couldn't come because I work for myself. And I was like, my schedule don't fit. But
Yeah.
and that's another issue. We don't have the resources in terms of coaches, the number of coaches that could engage if we want to get all these young people. We don't even have enough grounds.
All right.
Also, we don't have enough officials. As going back as far as 2006, we had a conference, a youth cricket conference at the airport, the hotel. So you turn in going. I think it closed now on the right hand side, and there was a lot of beautiful talk because we had just come back from the Under-19 World Cup. And I remember, you remember Selwyn, the late Selwyn Caesar, Lenny?
Yeah.
Mr. Caesar said to me, he said, Basil, there's a lot of nice talk in here today, but a lot of people not even addressing the fundamental issues here. Because for us to have numbers of youths to play cricket, we, one, have to have grounds. Two, we have to have coaches. And three, we have to have umpires and all of those things. At this point, we don't have those things in place, infrastructure in place to build this game with the youth. So what has happened, we have privatized cricket in the United States, which South Asians love to do because it's a cottage industry in their country. In India, I went there 2006. All these academy, everybody got a cricket academy in India. It's a cottage industry. So in the United States, that is the model that is formed. And what has happened? Working class people can't go, children can't go there because they can't afford 1,500 US and those kinds of money to coach their children. But the model I was talking about, where it would have been a more public situation, and you bringing in youngsters, we would have been able to really spread out the game. But now it's become a private thing, and I rang the bell on that going all the way back around 2008 when I would go to national tournaments and see every team west of the Mississippi is completely South Asian and nobody else.
Yeah,
Except when you walk in New York or us in the Atlantic region, New York, New Jersey, and Southeast Florida, you would have a more mixed situation. But Susie went west of the Mississippi, and now today that has come to east of the Mississippi, where where most of the people playing. You look at the minor league and all of those things. The Caribbean guys, for the most part, playing are guys coming from overseas, and some of them from here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If I may stick a pin there, and there's good reasons for us to go out of our little enclave or little community, because, and you guys will know, Sharma will know, I know that the public school athletic league is playing right now, and do you know there are some American coaches some of these teams, and they're winning. I think John Adams, if I'm not mistaken, is it John
You're
Adams?
correct. You're correct. That's my school. I played for them under the same coach that's been coaching for the past 12 years.
Exactly. An American or an Italian, I think.
I think he's from
And
Peru.
so it can be done, and we
Yes.
need to go out of that. I remember Ambassador will probably pick up this guy named Collins. There was a guy trying out to play professional cricket. He was from a baseball point of view.
Baseball player.
Yes,
Baseball. Yes.
exactly. I don't know where he got, but the fact is, the popularity and the whole popularity of the sport happens when you have someone out of mainstream cricketing background comes aboard. There is a guy from Yugoslavia, I think it's Yugoslavia or Russia, made headline news by being a big cricket fan. He plays for the Yugoslavia national team. And for associate nations, those are big boosts. for a country like the United States. We got to move out a little bit.
You're
Yeah,
right.
I
Yeah,
just
I
want
agree.
to say quickly at this point on that, Lenny talking. Back in 2010, our women's cricket team went to the national tournament in California. And as we're coming back at the airport, we all lined up. We all got on the same, um, same polo shirt, right? And a white guy and his teenage daughter. The guy said, "Who are you guys, man?" And I said, it's a women's cricket team. And I turned and I pointed to his daughter. I said, "We want girls like you to play." And you could see the smile on the young girl's face. And she plays all the sports you could see. And our father go, "You see, you can even learn to play cricket." Right? I,
Right.
I
Right.
Yeah,
mean, we uh,
Yeah.
I went to the Caribbean to watch test cricket and met Americans who had no connection to cricket, would travel to the Caribbean to watch West Indies play. And I
uh,
asked the guy, "How did you get?" And the guy says to me, "I used to go to Bermuda every summer to spend August." He was a school teacher in New Jersey, and in the summer they played the cup match where the whole island shuts down for a weekend, and that's how he got involved. And he started traveling with his Bermudan friends to see.
yeah,
And the guy could talk about the West Indies team on a very competent level. So those
yeah,
who used to say, "Oh, Americans wouldn't even like Test cricket," I had a white girl in my cricket team. How she came into cricket was the 2005 Ashes. She was going to college with from folks from England. And you remember the Ashes with Australia, that famous 2005? This girl was into cricket. We driving to Atlanta and she got on the phone. She watching the test match on her phone. So she
yeah. But
wasn't T20, it was test cricket.
yeah, Basil, and the fact is, and the fact is now that the U.S. that the ICC have embraced so much associate cricket, you wouldn't be surprised. You met a female from Brazil or Mexico or Argentina, and they're coming to the U.S. And if you ask them what they're coming to the U.S., I'm coming to play cricket.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All these
Okay.
all these nations have national team now.
Yeah.
Right. Right. All
Yeah.
right. This is a conversation we're gonna continue. There's some little points I picked up there. It's going to be interesting to, maybe reach out down the line, Sharma to the coach at John Adams,
Yes.
talk to him, find out what he's doing. Yeah, yeah. So we will definitely continue. Before we close today, we want to, you know, our young Bassett Butcher Jr. here was making a little boast last
Yes,
week,
yes.
and he was looking around for his
Yes, yes,
for
yes.
the proof. So please remind us of the
Oh yes,
achievement,
The
Bassett,
Lenny,
unveiling,
and and
the
and
Lenny,
and, then- and
unveiling.
what
then
it
and,
was,
and then show us the
Uh,
hardware.
Lenny,
the,
what it was. Last week we were speaking about wicketkeeping,
yeah,
and I made mention that I have filled in as a replacement wicketkeeper a few times for Atlantis, and
right, right.
other teams I've played for. I filled in as wicketkeeper. I'm competent standing back. When it comes to standing up, I am a joker. I will
All
tell you
right.
that. Keeping, that's where you know you could really wicketkeep, when you could keep to the spin, right? And I
Yeah.
noted one match for Atlantis, I took 6 catches. So guys were doubting me, and I said I got a trophy. So I made sure I went back and I found my trophy. Here it is. I had made the
Congrats,
point.
Basil.
Yeah, I had made the point. I made the point. It was in the mid 90s. And I realized Detroit is
Uh,
1989. It's so
but
long
hold on.
ago.
Anansi,
Yeah,
we'll have to check the hardware.
you got to check it right.
Basil,
Okay.
and my input on this whole wicket-keeping discussion. I know you guys started last week.
Mhm.
In modern day cricket, what we have seen the move away from more of a specialist wicketkeeper, and what we're beginning to see now is that the team is picked, and out of that 11, we take one of the better batsmen and say, can you keep?
Mhm.
Can you at least keep? And so we're beginning to throw the gloves not so much to specialist keeper, but for people who can bat and can do a bit of keeping. For example, you look at England, for example, and they're telling us that Ben Fowkes is one of the best wicketkeeper in England,
Yes.
but they will probably pick Butler, they'll probably pick Bairstow or even Sam Billings in front of that guy.
Mhm.
So we seem to suggest that the game has moved away from the days in which we know the specialist wicket keepers have come, and now the teams are looking for a guy to make a 50 and a 60. And this opportunity or this method may have been spoiled by the likes of
Gilchrist.
Gilchrist and
Gilchrist.
Sangakkara because they became very good batsmen. And
Mhm.
now everybody's looking, hey,
For
the
the
guy
next
who we
Gilchrist.
pick,
For the
And
he
we,
got
next.
to know to bat because look how Sangakkara is doing, look how Boucher is doing, look at Gilchrist, look at Dujan.
Mhm.
So I think we moved away from the real specialist thing and giving the glove to somebody who can bat but can
We went,
keep
I think
competently.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pendulum went a little too far.
we'll definitely get into that. Definitely get
All
into
right.
that. But I do think that back in the day, there were a few people who lost a potential spot in a team because they couldn't really bat, and
Yes.
the other person was able to bat a little, a
Yes.
little
Yeah,
better than they were.
and Nancy, and another thing is that we may not cricket has not been able to trace the metrics. For example, if you drop a catch, nobody can trace the impact of that drop catch. But if a guy makes 50 and a guy makes 100, everybody knows that.
Hmm. Interesting point. Interesting
Yeah,
point. Yeah. What would have happened, right?
right.
Interesting point.
So
specialists
so
All
is
so,
right.
so they
more.
rather go for the runs than the little bit missed opportunity, whether it's a missed stumping or a drop catch. Nobody has been able to come up with the indexes, what that drop catch has caused the match. But you make 100, they know you'll win the game.
Right. All right. Okay. Thank you, Lenny, for visiting us for the first
Okay.
time. I
Nice to
hope
see you, Butcher
you
and
had a.
Sharma.
I
Yes,
hope
sir.
you
Yes,
had
sir.
a good line.
Lenny.
Oh yeah, it's
Well, I
good.
love the conversation. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you again, Basil and Sharma. Hope to see you guys in the future. Thank you all who would have joined us this evening. It was real nice having you, and please do look out for us next Wednesday for another episode of the Bits and Pieces Cricket Podcast. It's been nice being with you guys. Thanks again, and this is all for now.